Hello everybody, welcome back to another video. I'm hoping you guys are all having a fantastic day. So you may be clicking on this video and seeing the word snowstorm in the title, and it's early September. You may be thinking I'm out of my mind. Now, with a series of really rare coincidences, if you will, there could actually be a possibility for a snowstorm across the United States, and it won't be just some isolated mountain snow. This will be occurring in a higher elevations, but it could be definitely the first major snowstorm of the year. I would even call it a major snowstorm because at this point it looks pretty impactful. Now, again, this is very early on, but the European model has been showing this for quite some time. And I just want to say that this most definitely may change and completely may not come to fruition. But I just wanted to update you on this because you guys like not what the media shows, kind of just like the raw updated weather versions, and this is what is the models are showing. So I want to talk about this. If you are new to this channel, check out the channel, check out this video. If you like what you're seeing, consider subscribing. Obviously, if not, you don't have to. If you're a returning viewer, liking the video would be awesome. So let's take a look at the European model, since this is the model that is showing the snowstorm. So see, usually if it was a model like the GFS showing a snowstorm, I would be a bit more skeptical. But the European model typically has a bit more confidence as it goes less further out. But it's just looking extremely interesting, to say the least. Even if this doesn't come to fruition, the fact that it's showing the storm system, this widespread snowstorm, is very interesting. So let's get into this, since you guys are probably wondering, where is the snowstorm going to occur? Get on with it. Alright, let's get on with this then. So first off, a very active pattern is going on. I've made many videos about the storms, and you should be able to figure out at this point that it's an active pattern based on, if you were on this channel and if you had this recommended, my videos. It's an active pattern, and you can see lots of storm systems. We have another one really developing today and into tomorrow across the upper Midwest and into southern Canada, delivering some showers, some storms. That passes through, and this is where things get interesting. So we see a system that develops late this weekend into early next week that has two phases. You can see one moves off into southern Canada, into James Bay, Ontario, and Quebec, while we have a very potent area of low pressure that is delivering snow across a good portion of western Montana. So yes, these are the higher elevations. Obviously, it's literally early September. And if you were to look at this further, what we see at around Tuesday into Wednesday, so yes, this is about a week out, but you could see we see actually widespread snow across much of Wyoming, into Montana, into Utah, and parts of Colorado. And this may not even be limited to the higher elevations. I mean, you could see basically the whole state of Wyoming maybe in the possibility of seeing a snowstorm. So yes, while it's Wyoming, it's not, a Missouri or Illinois, obviously. It's further in the mountains. It still is unusual for this time of the year, to say the least. And as we push this forward, you can see that the storm system does continue to push further to the south, and as it does that, we see it developing out into the Midwest, and it's going to be a rain system for anyone else. It's not going to get that cold, and you can see that it's dissolved pretty much after that. The earlier European model had it going across the Midwest, but let's just take a look at some of these snowfall accumulations potentially. And again, I know this is a bit ridiculous to look at the total snowfall a week out at a snowstorm in September. But why not? I mean, we could just share this information with you. And again, I'm fully accepting the fact that this may be 100% wrong. Let's take a look at this, though. You can see that the snowfall accumulations that would occur are actually pretty significant. This is showing, well over a foot in some locations. Obviously, in the mountains it would be higher, but this is still a very widespread system snowstorm across early September. People often say, oh, it's the mountains, it's the west, they see snow, but usually we don't see this type of snow up until maybe October. That's a bit more typical. September would be definitely more rare, but we'll have to see how this unfolds. It doesn't look as if this is high in confidence at this point, but I just wanted to bring along you guys for this and share you. share this with you. So you can see that the snowfall accumulations are definitely there, and this would be obviously very unusual. Let's take a look at the previous model run, since I mentioned this isn't the first model run that is showing this. And notice that this was yesterday's midnight model run, or today in the morning at midnight, and notice that it was very similar, a bit different arrangement, less snow across Montana, more across Colorado, but you could see it increased some of the southern Colorado mountains, kind of the slopes, up to 30 inches of snow. That would definitely be surprising, but if this were to occur, this would be really, really good news. While it could, put a really early season end on crops and vegetation, it's very dry in these areas, and any snowpack they could get would obviously most likely melt within a few days, as this really isn't going to hold, and that would transition into water, obviously snow into water, and then that could actually provide a bit of relief, since if you were to look at the drought outlook, it's very dry across these areas. Now you may be wondering, why on earth is it going to snow? It must be very, very cold. That's exactly what may be occurring. Let's take a look at this at the temperatures, and I want to show you why it may be so potentially, why is it going to be so so much snow. So we go through this forecast. Notice, as of now, it is very warm. We are actually above average, and we'll continue to see that. But as we get into the weekend, and after the weekend, we see this large area of cooler weather, which earlier was thought to be a bit further to the east. Now it has centered itself a bit further to the west. You can see that it delivers, just ridiculous anomalies, up to 44 degrees below normal. That would be definitely enough to see snow, cold enough to see snow. And you can see that the anomalies just explode here. We see widespread, possibly 40 to 50 degrees below average. That would definitely be something to, that could definitely break records easily. And you can see we have 45 degrees below average, which is, if your average is, let's say 70, even 80, that's still enough to almost see snow. Snow sometimes does fall when it's 40 degrees. And as this pushes further out, you can see it expands to the east, but really doesn't affect a lot of maybe the east and southeast as previously thought. But again, this is still preliminary. But just look at those anomalies. That is just extremely unusual and rare, actually, obviously. So let's take a look at the actual 2-meter temperatures and see what the actual readings of the thermometer would be. Notice, as we push in now, this is what the average, temperatures would be at this time of the year, even a bit warmer. You can see, even if it's average or a bit warmer, some mountain slopes, the peaks are already getting into the 30s and actually below freezing. That's not unusual. But again, as we see that insane cool-off coming this weekend, we see more than plenty enough of cold air to see the snow. You can see getting into the single digits in some areas. You can see right there, 30. I wouldn't be surprised if, if the European is showing 40 degrees below average. That wouldn't be much of a surprise. And again, with the precipitation and the cold air in place, we could definitely be seeing the snowstorm. And again, very early, very far out, but I just wanted to mention it to you. Notice, this is the GFS model, Global Forecasting System. This is a bit of a different model, and it's actually showing a completely different scenario. It's showing the cold air for sure, but just further to the east, and the precipitation is also further to the east. Definitely a bit of snow shower activity possible, but you can see the bulk of the precipitation stays to the east along with the cold air, and that really, obviously, it's not going to get cold enough to see snow across, Illinois, Indiana in early September. It has happened before. I think the earliest snow in Illinois was in September. I just forgot the exact date, but I think actually the earliest snow in Chicago is October 12th, so never a snow in September, but obviously that's not going to happen no matter what. But if this were to be centered across the mountains where it is, already cooler and you get the precipitation, a snowstorm would be possible. And you can see this definitely, the GFS centers the cold air much further across the east, and this would affect the south and the southeast rather than the west. But we'll have to see. The European model is definitely considered the more accurate of the two, but the GFS has definitely been doing a great job the past few weeks and months, really. So it's going to be a battle of the models, if you will. Let's take a look at the model run from yesterday, exactly 24 hours ago, and see if it showed the snowstorm. Notice, showed that little system across the Midwest scurrying away. That brings in some of the cooler air. It definitely showed the precipitation across Wyoming and Colorado, but just not to the full extent, because it still had the cooler air a bit further to the east, just the center of it further off to the east. And with the colder air being away from the mountains, the snow is much more limited, but it definitely is still there. And notice how it kind of slides down and then produces quite a bit of rain across the Midwest. So the snow was definitely there, and you can see the European has been consistently showing this and also increasing it as we go on further. And notice this is what it showed yesterday. So definitely a bit of snow for sure, but I mean nothing compared to with today's model run, which just was shocking. I wasn't gonna make a video about this because that wasn't significant enough, right? But I noticed it, and today when I looked at it, I was just like, this is ridiculous. I mean, look at this: 16, 10, widespread over a foot across much of Wyoming. Yellowstone would definitely be under the gun for some snow. British Columbia, even parts of Idaho, Utah, Nevada. So definitely interesting situation. We'll have to see how this unfolds, and I'll be keeping you guys updated. One more thing I would like to point out is that the Canadian model, obviously a model from Canada, also shows the possibility of the snow to agreeing with the European, not quite, but definitely more in agreement with the European than the GFS. You can see snow across Wyoming and Colorado, but it does take this system out into the Midwest and produce quite a bit of rain and storms. So either way, this looks to be a very impactful storm, even if it's across the West or the Midwest, where it will be more of a rain event, obviously, in the Midwest, not a snow event. But definitely interesting. We'll have to see how this unfolds. You can see these are the snowfall accumulations for the Canadian. We have definitely a few pockets of up to 4, 5, 6 inches of snow. Much less than the European, but definitely still there. So, yeah, potentially the first widespread major storm of the season, snowstorm of the season, very early start. So definitely keep updated for details, and I'll see you guys in the next episode. See ya. Bye.